I knew this game was going to be great. Let's face it, we all did. I'm Dan, an animator who loves video game things. Let's have a look into if Sonic Mania got it right, shall we?
Okay, I've got to address this first. Tyson Hesse's animated intro is exactly what the actual character of Sonic has been needing for a long time. These glorious animations prove that Sonic doesn't need words necessarily to create emotion and attitude. It's now all in his movement, which is inspired by the Sonic CD cutscenes by Toei Animation Studios. For the first time in a long while, his attitude is clear. He's cocky, cheeky, fun-loving, and fast. And that's all we really need to know.
This game has returned to the franchise's 16-bit roots, although this has a more what if a 2D Sonic game was made for the Sega Saturn feel about it. And that's a good thing.
Okay, so the first thing that pops out during gameplay is just how many more frames of animation the character sprites now have compared to 20 years ago, giving movement a really smooth liquid feel, which is reinforced further by sprite scaling and rotation, which wasn't present in the 16-bit games. This additional animation between frames and Mode 7 style graphics has been adapted to everything. So now even the rings spinning looks really smooth. This is why the game has a more 32-bit Sega Saturn feel to it, as opposed to 16-bit, especially when you look at the sublime looking special stages. And not only has there been more frames of animation added, but there's been more animation added into those frames. Just look how springs look now compared to the olden days. Some faux motion blur gives it just a little bit more bounce. And just look at how Robotnik moves in his cutscene after Green Hill. The running animation feels just right, a far cry better than this. And this attention to detail raises its head in the smallest of places. I mean, this game has seriously raised the bar with 16-bit sprite animation. Eat your heart out, Owlboy. Actually, you're an awesome game, I'm sorry. So, a big point that some fans and gamers were concerned with was that the game would be revisiting the same old classic zones from the 16-bit era, leading to the inevitable Green Hill rehash fatigue. Now, I'll defend Green Hill till the cows come home.
No, not now.
But I get why fans will be fed up with it by now. And while this game still is reusing Green Hill, what's different now is that they've added to and remixed the classic zone into something new, giving Green Hill an entirely fresh second act, evolving that classic design into something a little more modern, using elements from other Sonic games. When you compare this to Splash Hill Zone from Sonic 4, you can see where the extra effort has gone. And they haven't reused things just because they feel they should. Wood bridges now set alight with a fire shield, and water is now present in this zone, which is totally different to Splash Hill. They've spruced up bits here and there as well, like adding an underground, kinda like how they did in Sonic Generations. And the background of Act 2 has been heavily inspired by some beta designs from before Sonic 1 was properly finished. Yet another loving nod of affection and appreciation. Generally, most zones in Mania have Act 1 as a reinterpretation of its classic 16-bit form, and Act 2 increases and expands the zone's gimmick, with added play elements and a fresh aesthetic based off the original designs. Flying Battery from Sonic & Knuckles now has a stormy outside in its second act. Oil Ocean Zone's second act totally absorbs the second act of Sandopolis' zone's gimmick. And Love Reef Act 2 has taken on board some of Quartz Quadrant's elements from Sonic CD. It's just a massive mishmash of bits from early Sonic games. Major kudos to the brand new zones too. Press Garden Zone has replaced this game's ice theme, and the zone's first act is totally original, an abandoned printing factory overgrown with foliage. Genius! The selection of classic zones picked for this game from the 16-bit era are supposed to be a varied and broad representation of everything that the 2D Sonic games did best, while also combining elements from other games with a similar theme. So Hydro City Zone from Sonic 3 has taken in bits and pieces from Labyrinth Zone from Sonic 1. New aesthetic flourishes have also been added, like the really cool background and foreground in Metallic Madness, and the lovely wobbly watery chemicals in Chemical Plant are an absolute joy. Oh, the special stages, man, are they special! They've somehow managed to combine all the special zone ideas from previous games into one new, fresh experience. And it's fun, and it feels genuinely great and exciting to chase that UFO by getting faster. Gone is the trial and error muscle memory of Sonic 2, but here is the new getting to know you controls. Oh, and the blue spheres are back, yay. So basically, the style of this game?
Okay, so this is a bit of a big one. Come on, we've all had that discussion. You know,
How Sonic runs into enemies and spikes and pits off screen when going fast.
well, they fixed it.
Sonic Mania is much like Shovel Knight in that it uses nostalgia as a springboard for the concept, but enhances it by using many of the gaming tools and ideas we have today. I've mentioned before how Metroid games tend to revisit ideas and locales from previous games as a means to show the progression the series has made, combining the familiar with the new, and I think the same can be said for Sonic Mania. You can feel that the gameplay from the 16-bit era has had rough edges smoothed, and I'd like to say that the arduous barriers that stop you from going fast are gone. But... and the infamous blind spots from further ahead have sort of been fixed, but only when the game says you can go fast. Try going fast yourself? Boy, you better be ready to remember more stage design, yeah. Much like Super Meat Boy and various other indie games in the last few years, you can feel that Sonic Mania has an underlying design for speedrunning, hence the presence of Time Attack. But I'll touch more upon that in a bit. Basically, Sonic Mania tries to reward you for going fast when the opportunity arises, unlike its Mega Drive counterparts where there's always potential for a hazard. That's not to say that the infuriating hazards are gone, mind. Sonic 2 was painfully guilty of this. Remember? Partly to blame is the fact the camera stays central and doesn't let you see what's ahead. In fact, it does the opposite, and you can go faster than the camera. Sonic Mania still does that, which is annoying, as I thought they'd sorted that issue in Sonic Advance, but I guess they kept it in so you maintain that feeling of max speed, that you can go so fast that the camera can't keep up. But guess what? These guys have fixed the stage design issue. Now you don't feel like you're going to run off a ledge or run into an enemy. It's almost like they've designed the stage around Sonic's speed.
Now, wasn't that a good idea?
Anyway, let's break it down. If you look here, see how just pushing right will cause this seamless transition from loop to platform to ground. See here, when you come to a stop against this ledge, the platform crumbles, but you're already against the wall and will likely land on the spring. See here, where this whole section is just a follow through. It's almost a little puzzle to work out in order to progress. It's not hard, and it's difficult to mess up, and you're shown quite clearly that this is the way forward, but you get just a little bit of variety and something interesting to break up a big running stint. And when you compare this to something from Sonic 4 or even Sonic 2's Chemical Plant, you get a sense for what begins to truly make a fun 2D Sonic game. Heck, even just a fun platform game.
See, the developers don't want to punish you, they want you to have fun.
However, Sonic Mania isn't getting off that lightly. Just check out this opening from Metallic Madness. I ran forwards here, and I run into an enemy. It's poorly placed. Put you in a bad mood because your reflexes aren't good enough for the enemy placement. And even more, the whole design of the stage isn't too far from its rather awful design in the Sonic CD version. Though that might just be my bad skills. That doesn't explain rubbish spike placement though. Okay, so the speedy platforming issue has been addressed at least, and it works for the most part, and going fast feels good, and actually rewarding. The next point they've addressed is momentum. Remember how you just slightly misjudge a ledge or land incorrectly and you'd lose that speedy momentum you had? Well, now you've got the drop dash. that pretty much sorts out that issue. Again, the developers want you to keep playing, they want you to explore, they want you to keep going, they don't want you to stop, because you've got to go quickly.
I'm not saying it.
So I mentioned earlier how this game has been designed around speedrunning, and I think it's obvious when you come across moments like this. You could very easily stop and explore here, but you could just as well keep going too. In previous Sonic games, there was a rough, general rule of thumb that the higher in the stage you were, the faster you could go, and falling down the layers posed more obstacles and was a slower route. And while that's sort of been retained, the drop dash helps keep that fast, happy pace. I mean, there are still dog poo moments like this, but the core design of traditional 2D Sonic gameplay has been refined in something super smooth and modern. The stage layouts are basically split into Act 1 as being fairly traditional to the Zone theme, and then Act 2 shakes things up a bit by remixing it with different ideas from other Sonic games, such as Chemical Plant Act 2 using elements from Wacky Workbench and Metallic Madness from Sonic CD, and Stardust Speedway using elements from Marble Garden from Sonic 3. New enemies have been reprogrammed from past games, so this interesting red roller enemy from Springyard Zone has been remade into an enemy that gives chase in Mirage Saloon, something that's not common in a Sonic game. These guys in Metallic Madness, who used to catch Sonic and throw him away, now move spike traps. That's pretty interesting. If there's one thing I've never been happy about, is how every other character has Sonic's speed. If they slowed down Tails and Knuckles so Sonic was the fastest of the three, I think that would open up more opportunities for replayability as the other characters, for different and alternative stage design as well. But hey, what do I know?
Okay, wow. I was following T-Lopes anyway, and then I saw his name as composer for this game, and I was just like, okay, yeah, they got this whole fan thing down.
What can I say? T-Lopes just gets the spirit of Sonic. Pumping beats, happy jigs, good vibes. Everything has the edge of pop music to it. And the boss themes are spot on, just as menacing as they are funky. It could have been easy to go down the route Sonic 4 did for its music, in using 16-bit instruments fused with that horrid modern synth. But for Mania, T-Lopes just went in with full modern sounding instruments, shedding any 16-bit sounds and just recreating them fully with a modern keyboard set. For a short while, I was worried because the game was trumping its own horn so loudly, what with the vinyl release of the whole soundtrack and the special edition release, that it would be utterly embarrassing if the game was overhyped, which is always inevitable with anything that looks vaguely good for a fan base. But I think the soundtrack, like previous Sonic games, has been a massive lift for everything, stringing together style and substance. T-Lopes, you legend. Okay, so I was a little disappointed with the story. I mean, there's this pink rock which transports you to different zones, but only sometimes. And then you face Eggman, and it's all like, yeah, you won, bye. There was me thinking it'd have a coherent story with the hard-boiled heavies and everything.
I think you get the idea. This game is a love letter to fans, a gift to retro gamers, and a good bit of fun for gamers in general. With so much passion in every aspect of its design, I don't think Sonic Mania will be forgotten anytime soon, and could very well lead to a sequel.
It's a hard time for Sonic fans at the moment, with Sonic Mania and Sonic Forces pretty much showing the divide the franchise has amongst its fans. I still believe there's a workable 3D format for the Sonic games that's yet to be truly tapped into. But right now, Mania has shown us both how great the 2D games can be and how they've dated. Though this game is an absolute blast, and I do seriously love it, and the amount of effort gone into every aspect of its design is unmatched, I do still think there's more lessons to be learned in designing a 2D Sonic stage.
Okay, I'm off to go play Sonic Mania again, just so I can watch that cutscene. Love you, bye.
Thanks to my current patrons for supporting me and helping me make this video, especially my top tier supporters. If you like this video and want to help me with future content, why not consider donating $1 or $3? Any contribution goes straight into these videos, and you can choose different rewards depending on your pledge. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram. And hey, why not throw some comments down below? Love you again, bye!